All right, helicopter flying manual, chapter 13. We're going to be on page 7 of 10. This will be night flight. The night flight environment and the techniques used when flying at night depend on outside conditions. Flying on bright, clear moonlight evening where the visibility is good and the wind is calm is not much different from flying during the day. However, if flying on an overcast night over a sparsely populated area with fewer or no outside lights on the ground, the situation is quite different. Visibility is restricted, so be more alert in steering clear of obstructions and low clouds. Options are also limited in the event of emergency, as it is more difficult to find a place to land and determine wind direction and speed. At night, rely more heavily on aircraft systems such as lights, flight instruments, and navigation equipment. As a precaution, if visibility is limited or outside references are inadequate, strongly consider delaying the flight until conditions improve, unless proper instrument flight training has been received and the helicopter has the appropriate instrument and equipment. Pre-flight. Aircraft pre-flight inspection is a critical aspect of flight safety. It must comply with appropriate rotorcraft flight manual. Pre-flight should be scheduled as early as possible in the flight planning sequence, preferably during daylight hours, allowing time for the maintenance assistance and correction. If a night pre-flight is necessary, a flashlight with an unfiltered lens, white light should be used to supplement lighting. Oil and hydraulic fluid levels and leaks are difficult to detect with a blue, green, or red lens. Windscreens are checked, ensuring they are clean and relatively free of scratches. Slight scratches are acceptable for day flight, but may not be for night flight. The searchlight or landing light should be positioned for the best possible illumination during an emergency descent. Careful attention must be paid to the aircraft electrical system. In helicopters equipped with fuses, a spare set is required by regulation and common sense, so make sure they are on board. If the helicopter is equipped with certain circuit breakers, check to see that they are not tripped. Tripped circuit breaker may be an indication of an equipment malfunction and should be left for maintenance to troubleshoot. All aircraft operating between sunset and sunrise are required to have operable navigation position lights. Turn these lights on during the pre-flight to inspect them visually for proper operation. Between sunset and sunrise, these lights must be on anytime the helicopter is operating. All recently manufactured aircraft certificated for night flight must have all anti-collision light and light that makes the aircraft more visible to other pilots. This light is either red or white flashing light and may be in the form of a rotating beacon or a strobe. While anti-collision lights are required for night visual flight rules VFR flights, they may be turned off anytime they create a distraction for the pilot. One of the first steps in the preparation for the night flight is becoming thoroughly familiar with the helicopter's cockpit instrumentation and control layout. It is recommended that a pilot practice locating each instrument control and switch both with and without cabin lights, since the markings on some switches and circuit breaker panels may be difficult to read at night. Be able to locate and use these devices and read the markings in poor light conditions. Before starting the engine, make sure all necessary equipment and supplies needed for the flight, such as charts, notepads, flashcards, are accessible and ready to use. It's kind of going to be long. We're at 3. Engine starting and rotor engagement. Use extra caution when starting the engine and engaging rotors, especially in dark areas with little or no outside lights. In addition to the usual call of clear, turn on the position and anti-collision lights. If condition permits, also turn the landing lights on momentarily to help warn others that the engine is about to start and engage the rotors. Taxi technique. This is still page 8 of 10. Landing lights usually cast a beam that is narrow and concentrated ahead of the helicopter, so illumination to the side is minimal. Therefore, slow the taxi at night, especially in a congested ramp and parking areas. Some helicopters have a hover light in addition to a landing light, which illuminates a larger area under the helicopter when operating at an unfamiliar airport at night. As for instructions or advice concerning local conditions, so as to avoid taxiing into areas of construction or unlighted, unmarked obstructions. Ground controllers or Unicom operators are usually cooperative in furnishing this type of information. Takeoff. Before takeoff, make sure that there is a clear, unobstructed takeoff path. at airports. This is accomplished by taking off over a runway or taxiway. However, if operating off airport, pay more attention to the surroundings. Obstructions may also be difficult to see if taking off from the unlighted area. Once a suitable takeoff path is chosen, select a point down the takeoff path to use for directional reference. The landing light should be positioned in order to eliminate the tallest obstacles in the takeoff path. During the night takeoff, notice a lack of reliable outside visual reference after becoming airborne. This is particularly true at small airports and off-airport landing sites located in sparsely populated areas. To compensate for the lack of outside references, use the available flight instruments as an aid. Check the altimeter and the airspeed indicator to verify the proper climb attitude. An attitude indicator, if installed, can enhance attitude reference. The first 500 feet of altitude after takeoff is considered to be the most critical period in transitioning from comparatively well-lit airport or heliport into what sometimes appears to be total darkness. A takeoff at night is usually an altitude over airspeed maneuver, meaning a pilot most likely performs nearly maximum performance takeoff. This improves the chances the obstacle clearances, enhances the safety. We'll stop there on page 8 and 10. That was we just finished off with taxi techniques in the takeoff. Page 8 and 10, chapter 13.